Hi everyone, this is Don Gold, the art guy, bringing you another art video. Today is Painting Flowers Part 2. We'll be talking about the importance of good brushwork and when and how to add that background into your flower painting. The first display here is my collection of flower painting books. So let's begin. A flower painter enjoys many advantages. Formal arrangements can be set up in the studio or home and painted at your leisure. You do not need special studio lighting. In fact, the lovely soft light that filters in through the window is often all that is necessary to illuminate the subtle colors and provide the all-important shadows that give the subject form. Alternately, the flowers can be placed in direct sun for that very dramatic backlit effects. If you love to work outdoors, then it's possible to do so in the convenience and safety of your home garden or perhaps the garden of neighbors and friends. Those restricted to apartments can still join in fun by growing flowers in window boxes or pots, and when they are blooming, countless hours of pleasure can be gained either painting them as they are or by arranging them on paper into more interesting subjects. Do try and spend as much time painting as you possibly can. A once-a-week painter will never progress. Your progress will be in proportion to the time that you spend at it. The sky is your limit. Finally, I want you to have fun and enjoy yourself. Isn't that what it's all about? Your painting is only a piece of paper, and as I often tell my students, it's not an earth-shattering disaster if a mess is made. However, I must stress the importance of keeping your works, both good and those you're not so happy with, at least for the time being. Date them and look at them every few months and compare them with your latest creations. The improvements that we'll be seeing will hopefully be the most uplifting. Let's begin with brushwork. The good brush is essential to painting in watercolor, but even more important is knowing how to use it. When painting flowers, you are going to be using round brushes mostly. Your brush should have a sharp point. Wet your brush, give it a good shake, draw the body across your index finger, rotate the brush at the same time, and the brush should come to a point. You're going to need several brushes that have good points. This is the tip of the brush. You can paint flowers with a blunt, tired brush, even though it might be your favorite one. Here's what a blunt tip brush looks like. This one has been stroked over watercolor paper, and watercolor paper is like sandpaper to a delicate brush tip. Things to remember. Don't paint with the tip of the brush. You will ruin the point. Always paint with the body of the brush. Don't stroke and lift. Keep your brush on the paper until you finish a shape or have run out of paint. Don't paint with a floppy wrist. Your wrist should be firm but not rigid. Paint with your hand, wrist, and forearm. Do you like painting sitting down or standing up? Sitting may be more comfortable, but standing allows your arm and hand to flow freely, thus making better strokes. You can paint with dry or semi-moist paint. Many people use too much water and not enough paint, often because your paint isn't wet. The colors in the wells must be wet. You should be able to stick the tip of your brush into the paint. Your brush should never just pass over the surface of the color in the well, or you're going to be just painting with water. So what is the basic brush stroke? Any round brush will do to practice your brush stroke. Start with the tip of the brush. Immediately press the brush against the paper almost to the metal part. This is the correct brush position. You should always paint with the body of the brush, never with just the tip. A round watercolor brush is designed to form shapes, When the brush is pressed, you will have a darker color value and a harder edge at the beginning of the stroke, and a lighter color value and a softer edge at the finish. The tip and the sides of the flower of the round brush are designed to form shapes like petals of flowers. Now load your brush with color. After rinsing and shaking your brush, load it with color from the tip to about a third of the way up the body. Never go back into a wet wash with a watery brush. We are all tempted to do this. Sometimes a color or value looks wrong and the painter tries to change it with a wet brush, but this is usually disastrous. Controlling your brush for an accurate stroke. One problem we all have is the need to make an accurate stroke. There are a couple things to do. Making accurate specific shapes is necessary in the flower painting. You can touch the tip of your little finger to the paper to steady the stroke, or you can rest the side of your hand on the paper as you make the stroke. Now, painting large areas. You should usually hold your brush at about 45 degrees, and when painting larger areas, hold the brush at 75 or 80 degrees. Press the brush almost to the middle part. Make a zigzag stroke by rolling your wrist back and forth, and don't lift the brush until you run out of paint. And then painting a darker background around a lighter subject, start your stroke where you want the darkest value and the firmest edge. The tip finds the boundary of the white flower, presses, and then paints around the flower and works into the background. The brush is held at right angles to the flower boundary. If you start in the background and paint towards the flower, you'll make a fuzzy edge and a lighter value. And finally, water, shake, palette, and paint. Do these 4 steps and you will assure success. Water, rinse your brush. Shake, most of my art students don't shake their brush, but you need to shake your brush to lose excess water. You can pass your brush across a tissue or paper towel or piece of cloth, but you don't blot your brush or it will remove too much water. Palette, you should be taking paint to the picture, not water. Now to painting backgrounds. Today we have some guest artists. I want you to see their artwork. They have created some excellent examples of backgrounds. There's Jackie, Rennie, Liz, and Sue. When I first started painting, backgrounds were always the hardest part of the painting for me. How many times have you developed your main subject and then everything came to a standstill because you couldn't decide what to put in the background? Backgrounds are one of the most common problems that all artists face. That said, I encourage all painters to gain confidence in creating backgrounds. They will give you greater success in your work and even lead to a breakthrough in establishing a style all your own. The background can be the backbone of a painting, give greater depth and excitement to your work. A suitable supportive background can be just as important as deciding where to put your center of interest. Treat the background as an integral part of your painting success. First, I must answer that age-old question, do you paint the background first or last? Well, don't paint the background at the beginning. Paint it as you are painting your subject. Never add an important background as an afterthought. Sometimes the most effective background is just a dark area that can make everything else pop. And other times adding texture and pattern to that area will add interest. A background should support your subject but not dominate it. Planning your background is very important. Just knowing ahead of time that your background will work and that you're leaving nothing to chance removes a lot of stress and gives you a boost of confidence. For a 3D effect, create a blurred background to emphasize a detailed subject or foreground. Repeat some of the subject's colors in the background. This will unify the painting. If you opt for a rich black background rather than a detailed one, mix your own black using dominant colors of your subject. Finally, if you create a strong supportive background, consider using it or a combination on other paintings, thus establishing your style. This concludes our talk today. Be sure to see my next art video, Painting Flowers Part 3, where we will be doing step-by-step exercises of painting flowers.